White Kukwstsemc, Tracy Nedwin Squaxt. Hello everyone, my name is Tracy Ned, and with me I have my daughter, Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is my daughter, and today we're going to be talking about making birch bark baskets. So clean is birch bark, and this is just my candle holder, and I use this in classes to show my students what birch bark looks like, so you can see that it actually has like the paper stuff coming off of it and everything. And my students like to pass it around and look at it. This birch bark, when you take the birch off the tree, you actually have to split it down here, and then when you peel it off, and if it's ready, it's gonna come off pretty easily. And so what I was working on with students was making a little basket. So like this is actually a basket with just some paper with it's photocopied paper of an actual picture of birch bark. So it actually comes out looking just like birch, but it's just paper, so it's thin. And what I do with my students is I have them start off with the pattern, and then they cut it out. So the pattern looks like this, and this is an actual size piece of paper, full size, and you just take the paper and you actually have to cut the triangles out. And it took me a few tries to make this pattern. If you want a smaller basket, you would have to make a smaller pattern. So this is the small little pattern I have, and so you might have to make some adjustments by folding the paper to make sure that it's symmetric. And so with this basket, you would fold these in, and so it's a pretty, let me hold that side, and when I fold this in, okay, so this basket is pretty small once you fold it. And so that's not the size that I was using for my students. For my students, we were using this size. So I actually photocopied, and I tried to put little marks on there so students would find it easier to know how to fold it up. So the bottom of the basket I wrote in the middle. So the bottom, so you fold the middle flaps inwards, and these ones go on the outside. And so these are just a regular basket. Here's my cardboard one that I was making, and this one would be a little bit more durable and last a bit longer. And I also made one for a baby. So this is my doll size basket that I made out of a box. And my grandma Lena actually used to make the baby baskets this way, and she would use cardboard, and she would use the willow stick, and she would use sinew thread to sew it up. I used pipe cleaners in this basket to make it a little easier to make, and it's a small basket, so this was actually the first time I ever made one by myself. And this is what I'm going to be showing Brooklyn how to make, and we'll make a small version, but I do want to make a regular size basket because it would be definitely different to make something for an actual baby. My grandma used to make the baskets when she knew somebody was expecting a baby, and so the basket would be ready by the time the baby came. And so you would never reuse the same basket. You would always have a new basket for the baby. And in kukwstsemc we call a baby is kukwstsemc. And so I'm going to show you the pattern and everything for the baby basket, but for now, we're just going to get the red willow stick ready. And I've actually had this for a little while now. I wanted to do it while it was fresh, so I don't know if it's going to work. It might be too dry. It's in kukwstsemc we call a willow stick kukwstsemc, and so it has the color red in it. Red is juk in kukwstsemc. So I'm gonna try to peel this, and we'll see if this is gonna be good enough for the basket. And it's just a doll basket. We're just making a small one, so we don't need it to be that, like, we're not trying to have a thick stick, because my grandma, she used to actually she used to take a thicker stick and she would break it in half and use half on the inner part of the basket and half on the outer part. But because we're not making a thick basket, we don't need to do that. So we're just gonna actually bend this stick and put this around the inner part of the basket, and that's all we're gonna do. We don't need to make it extremely strong. So you can find these sticks close to creeks usually, and it's probably better to use the stick right after you pick it, or not too long after. I think I picked this one like at least a few weeks ago, so it's pretty dry. The shavings are just powdery, and so I don't know if this is gonna work. So I'm actually just gonna break the stick right there, because we only need a part of it. And I'm gonna try to bend it. So if you're gentle with it and you're bending it, if you bend it too hard and too soon, it's just gonna crack. So if I bend it slowly, it's actually gonna work. It's gonna go in this could go in the head part or the foot end, and you wrap your sinew around it, and it actually gives the birch bark shape, the cardboard shape. We're using cardboard for this basket, so that's what we're going to use that for. So the kukwstsemc is, so I'll just finish shaving the other side for the other part. What I did was cut a little chunk of cardboard out of here, this extra piece, and it's like this. And I'm holding this because I cut it out before I showed you what it actually is for. So with the baby, you want the head piece to be the size of how deep you want the basket. So this is a little bit too deep, but I might cut a little bit off of so once you have your piece like this, you actually want to cut a piece out like that. And what I used this piece on the other side, and then I cut that out. And when my grandma was showing me how to make a basket, she was trying to do this step, and I didn't know what she was doing, so I couldn't help her, but I guess she was trying to decide how big she wanted it. So this is how the headpiece pattern looks. You can trim it up, and you might need to go a little bit further in. And what this is for is actually for the ends of the basket. So this is your baby basket. And this piece goes right here. I'll turn it over, it might be easier to see. And what you're going to do is you're going to actually cut it out like that. So when you put the edges together, so I'll show you that step after. Okay, so after a few attempts at trying to make the pattern, I went through a couple boxes because I could not remember how to do it, but finally I was able to figure it out. So for a small basket, this is for just like a doll basket, it's not for a baby. The pattern would be 2 squares. You need 2 of them, and then you actually have to, once you have your you actually have to cut down, so cut 2 lines down. And the pattern for the head size, I went with this size, so that's how far down you want to cut on each side of the box. And once you do that, you have the cuts, then you actually have to fold it and make it so that it's all, the creases there. And then you actually have to, once you have that folded, you should try to fold your flaps on your box too, so that you have it folded like that. And then you have a flap that comes down right here in the middle. So once you have all your folds and your creases pushed in, so what I do is I just put it down, and then I just squeeze it so that it's all ready to work with. So then you put this part down and you fold these pieces over the back, just like the basket I was showing you earlier. So once you have that over the back, you can put something through there, poke all the way through, and put a pipe cleaner or something through so that it holds it in place. But first, before you do that, you should have your pattern here, and then you gotta draw the lines on it like I did, and then you gotta cut that out. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I use a knife, it's easier than scissors. And I'll just cut that out. And this is the reason for this head part, is actually so that it'll start to flex. The box will actually be able to flex more, because without doing that, it's not going to be able to bend. So I'm going to cut that. So I'll just use scissors for this part since it's giving me a hard time. Okay, so I got that cut out. So now this is what it looks like. So this head part comes in, these flaps go on the outside, and then it looks like that. You don't put them all the way in. You want it out slightly so that there's some corners sticking up there. That's fine. You will cut those off after. So once you have that done, then you make a little hole in here so that we can put something to hold it in place. And what we're going to actually do is do the exact same on this side of the box. And so I already folded it so that it stays. I just have to cut that part out. And once we have that done, then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so what I did was I actually went and I kind of bent these ends like this. just to give, so that they're not so stiff. I want to make it so that they're actually able to move. Okay, so now I have all of that done, so it's a little bit looser. And what I'm going to do is put them back together like I showed you, like this. And once I have it where I want it, I'm going to hold it together like this. And I have a tool here that I'm going to actually poke a hole in the back here through to the other side. And I'm going to poke another one right beside it. Be careful not to poke your fingers on the other side. So once I have that, I'm actually going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to put it through the hole that I made. So here it came through. And then I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to put it through that hole there. So when I pull them through, I twist them together, and this is just to hold it in place. So now it's going to stay there. And then I do the same on the other side. So I have this one here. So I'm going to put this one aside, and I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to fold over the back, and I'm going to poke the hole through the back here. So there's one hole, and don't let it go because you have to guide the pipe cleaners through there. So I'm going to grab another pipe cleaner. I'm going to put it through. And the good thing about the pipe cleaners is that it's wire, so it acts like a needle and it goes right through, and it's pretty easy. So once I do that, then I twist it up so that that stays. So now I have those pieces done, both exactly the same. And the reason we have two pieces is because one overlaps the other like this, and that makes the basket stronger. And what you're going to do is you're going to overlap the boxes like this. So if you want it longer, you can make it longer, but I wouldn't suggest making it, like if you're making an actual baby basket, you would probably overlap about right here. If you go any more out, then it's not going to be strong. So you have to put it in about that much. So that's how big the basket's going to be for this one. And you're going to put some holes in the bottom. So what I do is make about 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and then I'm going to lace the pipe cleaner in and then back out, in and back out, kind of like a stitch, and that's going to hold it in place. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to, but you want to hold it still, because what you're going to do is put the pipe cleaner through right after, so it's going to be guided by each hole. So I'm going to make 2 holes, and I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, I'm going to put it through, and I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to put it through the other hole, and then it's going to come back out the back. And then I'm going to make another hole, and I'm going to put the pipe cleaner through that, and then I'm going to make another hole. You can make all the holes all at once, you don't have to do what I'm doing, but I'm just showing you how to lace it through. So I go from there, I go back in there, and then what you can do is you can put this one through the same hole as the other one so that it comes up the bottom, and then you can go back through with this one if it goes through, and because the pipe cleaner is thin, it should go back through to the other side. Struggle with this one. Doesn't want to go back through. I'm gonna have to poke the hole a little bit bigger so that I could get this string, get the pipe cleaner to go back through. And you can use string, you don't have to use pipe cleaners. I just found it quicker and easier, and because it's just for a doll, I'm not really worrying about it too much. But you could just use some sinew thread and a needle, and that would work good for the baby basket. And so what I'm trying to do is get it to go back through here, because I want to tie it up with the other pipe cleaner. And if you push it too hard, then it kinks up, so you gotta try to do it gently. So there. So now they met up in the middle here. So I'm gonna twist those up so that they hold. So now it's like that and like that. So now your basket is not going to come apart. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna actually do the same thing on this end here where the other overlap is. So you're gonna poke holes through the bottom, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Okay, so the last thing I showed you was how to put the bottom pieces in. So you want to make sure that this is gonna be strong. So if you put 2 across the bottom to hold the 2 halves together, and then you should also do the sides as well so that it stays together. And so now then what I did was clipped all of the ends once I twisted them off so that there's nothing there in the way. So once you clip those off, you just push them down out of the way. So now the next part we have to do is we have to actually get the stick in there. And what the stick does is it actually pushes out the edges and rounds it out. See, that's why we wanted it to have flex in there. So when I got you to soften up the edges on here, then that's what that does. And you could still do that too if you need to. Just kind of go around the edge because we want it to be able to move on the head and the foot part. So when we put the stick in, it'll actually flex and go round. So I'm going to put the stick in, but first of all, I probably should cut poke a couple holes. So I'm going to actually start on this side because it's easiest for me. So I'm going to poke a few holes, probably about 1 centimeter apart, and about just less than ½ centimeter deep into the basket. So I'm just gonna cut a bunch of holes here so that I can get started on putting it together. So now I have holes there all around. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the stick through, put it in to the basket, gently push it in there because you don't want it to break. And I'm actually going to, you might have to look down in the basket here. Oh, this keeps popping out. So I'm going to take a pipe cleaner. I'm going to go through the first hole. Oops. So the stick needs to go below the pipe cleaner, so it goes slightly above the hole. So I'm going to put the pipe cleaner through and leave just a little bit on the end, just because that's my starting point, and I want to twist it off like this so that it holds that stick in place until I get going. So now I'm going to go through, I'm going to go from the outside in, and I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to go around and back out to the outside and come back in and I'm going to go back to the outside and come back in. So you're always going up and over the basket. And each stitch you do, the stick will be held in place. So the stronger it will get and the more round it will get too. So I'm going to keep doing that out and then in. The only thing is that's going to be a little bit tricky is when you run out of pipe cleaner and then you have to twist it off and get a new one going. So when I know I'm about to do that, what I'm hoping for is to be able to be on the inside so that when I need a new pipe cleaner, I'm going to twist it onto this old pipe cleaner. So now I need a new one. So I'm going to twist it together with the old one on the inside. Just give it a few twists, like right in there. So I twisted it, so now it's attached to the old one, and then I'm going to continue on. So just keep going out, and then I don't know why it's not going through. This one's a little bit thicker on the edge there, I guess. I'll just take my stick or my tool and I'll put it in another hole there. It's because it doesn't want to go through. And I just kinked it all up. That's why it's good to probably use the sinew thread too for this, but I'm just showing you how you could easily do it with pipe cleaners. So I'm going to keep going, and as you go you want to make sure that it's tightened up a bit. Oh, and I need to poke some more holes here because I ran out. So I'm going to poke some more holes and I'm going to keep going. And once you get to the end here, when you poke your holes, you have to go through a few sheets of cardboard instead of just the one like on the sides. So that time I went through 2 sheets. I'm going to go again. And then I went through 2 more. So just keep going around and make sure the stick is above the hole. And I'll just keep on doing this, and I'll show you as it starts to take shape on the end. So just keep on going around and around. Don't push it too hard because it'll kink up. There you go. Does that have to be tight? Yeah, you should do it sort of tight, not too much, because you could tear the box. Sometimes you gotta pinch this together, and that's where clothespins would help, I guess. I see that. That's how they make them, the birch bark baskets. I'll help you. And traditionally you would have used, well, like if you're making a bigger one, you might want to use a bigger willow stick and then split it and put half on the outside and half on the inside so that it's really strong. But because this is just for a doll, we don't need to do that. And it's better to punch all of your holes ahead of time instead, so you don't have to keep stopping and doing that. Nothing good. Okay, so I added the second stick in there and it overlapped right here, which is fine. You just have to make sure you're starting the pipe cleaners around. So this stick is quite long, and there's going to be stick all the way around the entire basket, but when you're making the other basket, like a bigger one for an actual baby, you're probably gonna need more sticks, longer ones too. So I'm just gonna continue going around, and it's getting stronger and rounder. And because this stick that we used on this part is really thin, look how thin that is, then the stick we're using on this end is a lot thicker. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to cause this end to be a little wider. So I think that would probably be the natural place for the baby's head to go. Okay. So once you're at the end, the very last hole, you have to go back through, if you can, go on the outside and bring it through the same hole as the previous time. And you can just pull it down a little bit, maybe loop it through just to tie kind of like a knot, and then you can just thread it through the top here if you want to get rid of it, or you can cut it off, but I would just thread it through, and then you could cut it off over here. So that is it. So now you can see how it's rounded out, just to hold it more, because you can see it's lifting off. So I'm just gonna do that right now. I'm gonna put another one in the bottom here. And I'll just use an old piece that I have, and I'll put this through, and then once it comes through, then you just twist it off. So now that's a little bit stronger and it holds it together a little bit, and do the same at this end. Put another one right here, and then it'll be all finished, and you can cover it if you want, but you don't have to. And then you can make a little pillow if you want. I remember my grandma would make her own little pillow to put in the bottom with using the same material that she would covering it. So when you cover the basket, she would choose her own material, whatever she wanted to use. And so what you do with the material is you actually put it through like that, and then you put the ends in. So this is a thicker material. You wouldn't really want to use that. You could use a thinner one, and you just put it in like that, and then you put the pillow in the bottom, and then you grab the baby and put the baby in like that.